Hello all of you. Today we'll be discussing about the questions that is asked from dermatology in the recent FMG 2020 December paper. So almost 10 questions was asked from dermatology this time. So we'll quickly see what are the questions and we'll have a short discussion about it. So to start with, which sign is shown in this image? Okay, so you can see that the options given are Auspitz sign, dermographism, Koebner's phenomenon and Nikolsky sign. This is a pretty direct question that was asked. So all of you know that the answer here is going to be Koebner's phenomenon. So what is Koebner's phenomenon? Like there are few diseases which you can remember with the mnemonic LVP, that is lichen planus, vitiligo and psoriasis, where you would be able to see this phenomenon that is called as the Koebner's phenomenon. Now what is Koebner's phenomenon? So Koebner's phenomenon means suppose you induce a trauma to the site and the lesions may develop at the same site. Okay, so in diseases like lichen planus, vitiligo and psoriasis, what happens is that suppose you induce a trauma with scratching of the nails or through any other means, what happens is that new lesions tend to develop at the same site. So this is called as a Koebner's phenomenon. So in this same question they had asked you about Auspitz sign. So Auspitz sign is something that you see in psoriasis again, where you scrape off the lesions till you see some bleeding points, isn't it? And dermographism is again you stroke the skin and you will be able to see some urticarial hives. And Nikolsky sign is something that you see in diseases like staphylococcal scalded skin syndrome or toxic epidermal necrolysis or pemphigus vulgaris, isn't it? Where what are you doing in a Nikolsky sign? You will be applying a tangential pressure over the skin and the skin will peel off, isn't it? So all these are the options that was given. So among all these things, the best option would be Koebner's phenomenon. So going to the next question, that is which nail finding is characteristic for psoriasis vulgaris as shown in the image. Now look at the image properly. Now you can see that there is a thickening beneath the nail, isn't it? So this thickening is called as subungual hyperkeratosis. So in the options again subungual hyperkeratosis was given. Auspitz sign is already discussed in the previous question, like you scrape off the skin till you find some bleeding points, isn't it? And oil drop sign and onycholysis. So please remember, oil drop sign, onycholysis and subungual hyperkeratosis, all these are seen in psoriasis vulgaris. So the nail findings that you see in psoriasis vulgaris can be remembered using a simple mnemonic that is called as the Poisson. So in Poisson, P is for pitting, OI represents oil drop sign, S is for subungual hyperkeratosis, O is for onycholysis and N is for the nail plate dystrophy. Okay, so these are the nail changes that you see in psoriasis, and in the previous image it was subungual hyperkeratosis. Now going to the next question, it is again asking you to identify the image. So in this image you may get confused between lepromatous leprosy and post Kala Azar dermatitis. So let us see what is actually given in this image. So if you would look carefully, there is a loss of eyebrows in the patient, isn't it? The patient is having multiple papillar or nodular kind of a lesion, and then there is some deformity in the nose as well, isn't it? So all these things put together, it better fits to lepromatous leprosy, where you would be seeing some leonine facies, isn't it? So the answer here would be lepromatous leprosy. Okay, since you can see leonine facies here. So what is happening here? There is a saddle nose deformity, there is a loss of the eyebrows, which is also called as the lateral madarosis, and you can see multiple papillar or nodular lesions over the face. And what happens in post Kala Azar dermatitis? In post Kala Azar dermatitis, this is a condition where a patient who had Kala Azar will develop this as a complication after several months or even after several years after the infection with leishmaniasis. So in such cases, the patient may come to you with multiple hypopigmented patches and again some nodular kind of lesions around the mouth or near the nasolabial area. Okay, but in this case, since the image shows more of a leonine facies, that is more typical for lepromatous leprosy. Now, go to the next question. This question can be categorized either under pharmacology or under dermatology, like find out the best treatment for the given condition. Now, if you carefully examine the lesion here, you can see that this lesion has a clear midline demarcation, isn't it? It has a very clear midline demarcation. So if you would ask me how to describe the lesion, I would rather say that this is a erythematous lesion, isn't it? So you can see that it is a vesicular lesion on an erythematous base with a clear midline demarcation. So such a description best fits to herpes zoster. Herpes zoster. So herpes zoster is a reinfection with varicella virus, isn't it? Initially you may get chicken pox followed by a reinfection that during the adulthood or during some immunocompromised stage, isn't it? And that is called as a herpes zoster. So this herpes zoster would be a painful condition and it usually appears as a vesicular lesion on an erythematous base on a dermatomal distribution. So you know that the treatment usually given is acyclovir. You can also treat it with famciclovir or as given in the question, valacyclovir. So this would be the answer here because all the others are the antibiotics that is given. Now going to the next question. A patient who was on anticonvulsant medication presented with the rashes as shown in the image. What could be the diagnosis? Now if you carefully note the question, they have given you a history of a drug intake. That is, the patient has taken an anticonvulsant and the patient developed these rashes after taking the drug. So this is more likely indicating towards a fixed drug eruption. Now what happens in a fixed drug eruption is that initially you may take a drug. So you take a drug and what happens is that the rash would develop just like any other rash. But this rash may heal with the hyperpigmentation. So the rash heals with a hyperpigmentation. Now what happens if you take the same drug once again? What happens is that once you retake the drug, the rash appears on the same site. The rash appears over the same height and this rash would heal with a residual hyperpigmentation. So according to this Christian who had taken an anticonvulsants and the rash here, you can see that there is some hyperpigmented rash as well. So it is more likely that it is going to be a fixed drug eruption. The other options that was given was urticaria. It is definitely not an urticaria because what happens in urticaria? What do you find in urticaria? In urticaria you will be finding a swelling, isn't it? An edematous swelling beneath the skin. So this is not an edematous swelling beneath the skin that you can see. And angioedema, the option number C, is again an edematous swelling, but it is going to be a deeper swelling. Okay, the lesion is going to be extending towards the subcutaneous tissue. And cellulitis is something different because that is a bacterial infection of the skin. So the answer here would be the fixed drug eruption. Now going to the next question, like again you are asked to identify the image that is shown below. So what is this image? Now if you know that, you may be doubtful whether this is going to be a furuncle or a carbuncle, isn't it? Because in bacterial infections of the skin, these furuncle and carbuncle are all caused by Staphylococcus aureus. Now by definition, what is a furuncle? So furuncle is going to be infection affecting the hair follicles of a single, it is a pus forming infection of a single hair follicle. So if a single hair follicle is involved and there is a pus forming infection, which we usually call as the boils, that is going to be a furuncle. Now what is a carbuncle? So in a carbuncle is again a pus forming infection. The only difference is it is not going to be a single hair follicle here. Instead, it is going to be a contiguous hair follicles. Contiguous hair follicles. So carbuncle is a pus forming infection of contiguous hair follicles where you would be able to see sieve-like openings. So this finding is typical for carbuncle. Now let us see this image. Now if you try to zoom it and see a bit, you would be able to see multiple sieve-like openings, isn't it? Which means multiple contiguous hair follicles are involved, and then if you do an incision and drainage in this case, and you will be able to drain off the pus, and then you probably would have to start on antibiotics, and then that would take care of the condition. Okay, so the answer here would be a carbuncle. Now going to the next question. A patient presented with a hypopigmented rash with satellite lesions as shown in the image. Now they have given you multiple options like whether it is a BT type of leprosy, a BL type of leprosy, a lepromatous leprosy, or a tuberculoid type of leprosy, isn't it? So from the options itself it is very clear that it is going to be leprosy. Now we have a simple hint here in the question that satellite lesions are seen. So we all know that satellite lesions and finger-like projections, that is pseudopodia, both are seen in BT type of leprosy. So satellite lesions and finger-like projections, that is pseudopodia, are seen with BT type of leprosy. Now do you remember what is the type of lesions that is seen in BB type of leprosy? That is the borderline type of leprosy. So in borderline you would be seeing a Swiss cheese appearance or inverted saucer appearance. So Swiss cheese appearance or inverted saucer appearance is seen in borderline type of leprosy, whereas in this question they asked you about the satellite lesion. Satellite lesion is seen in the borderline tuberculoid type of leprosy. So please remember this mnemonic, that is BSC. Like these are the conditions where you would find satellite lesions in dermatology, like BT type of leprosy, sporotrichosis, which is a deep fungal infection, and candidiasis. So BT type of leprosy, sporotrichosis, and candidiasis, these are three conditions where you would be finding satellite lesions in dermatology. Now going to the next question, like a person who is a chronic alcoholic, so which deficiency can cause this? Okay, so the options were given as riboflavin, ascorbic acid, biotin, and niacin. Now let us see this very carefully, a zoomed image. Now you can find there is some finding around the neck area, and you can also find that there is some findings over the dorsal part of the palms as well, isn't it? So let us see what is it. These are the typical findings that you see in the deficiency of niacin, that is called as pellagra, isn't it? So what happens in pellagra? In pellagra, you must be remembering the 4 D's in pellagra, isn't it? That is, it starts with diarrhea, and then you get the dermatitis, and then you have dementia, and the last D is going to be the death. So in pellagra, the lesion that you have seen around the neck is called as the Casel's necklace. And then you also have a shiny kind of a lesion that is seen usually over the dorsum of the hands as well as the lower limbs. That is also a typical finding that you see in this deficiency of niacin, that is called as pellagra. Okay, so the answer here would be niacin. So going to the next question, they have simply asked you to identify the condition. So the options were verrucous vulgaris, elephantiasis, leprosy, and leishmaniasis. Now let us see the image once again. So in this image you can see that there is a unilateral swelling, isn't it, of one of the lower limbs, and the entire texture of the skin and the limb has been changed. So this is a very simple spotter that is going to be elephantiasis. So what happens in elephantiasis? If you remember, in elephantiasis there is going to be a chronic lymphatic obstruction, isn't it? There is going to be a chronic lymphatic obstruction. So all of you know that this is a disease that is transmitted through the mosquitoes, that is a Culex type of mosquitoes. Now what happens once the microfilaria enters our body, they convert into adult worms and then they finally would destruct the lymphatics, isn't it? So due to the chronic lymphatic obstruction, the patient may come to you with such kind of a unilateral non-pitting kind of a pedal edema, isn't it? Okay, unilateral non-pitting kind of an edema of the lower limbs. So dermatologically what is important is that if you, due to the chronic lymphatic obstruction, the patient is already having a edema of the lower limb and there are going to be some skin changes. So in the skin changes you would be able to see hypertrophy. So you'll be able to see the hypertrophy of the skin. You will also be able to see some verrucous changes over the skin. So hypertrophy, verrucous changes and pigmentary changes are all seen in long-standing cases of elephantiasis. So here the answer would be elephantiasis and none of the other options fit into it. Now going to the last question, that is, a truck driver with a history of lesions on the penis is undergoing treatment presented with these kind of rashes. Now what is the diagnosis? So the options given is secondary syphilis, drug eruption, toxic epidermal necrolysis and Stevens-Johnson syndrome. So in toxic epidermal necrolysis and Stevens-Johnson syndrome, you know that there is going to be a lot of mucosal involvement, a lot of erosions over the body, and usually happens after some intake of some drug. So that doesn't fit to this, and drug eruption of course is a possibility, but here in the question they have given you a history of a lesion in the penis, okay, and then the patient has presented with these rashes as of now. So these kind of coppery rashes that you see on the palms and the soles is typical for the lesions that you see in secondary syphilis. And in secondary syphilis, you will also get some papillosquamous rashes throughout the body as well. So these two images, along with the history of lesions in the penis, is hinting towards secondary syphilis. So what is this history of rashes over the penis? That is seen in primary syphilis, isn't it? Which is also called as the hard chancre. So where you will be getting a painless indurated genital ulcer. Okay, you will be getting a painless indurated genital ulcer in the primary syphilis, and later on, if it is not treated properly, the patient may proceed into secondary syphilis. So in secondary syphilis, you have a lot of clinical findings, out of which the typical findings would be the presence of this kind of papillosquamous eruptions, along with the coppery kind of a rash that you will be finding over the palms as well as the soles. So that is all about the questions that was asked in this recent FMG paper. So if you feel that there was some difference in this paper, in the questions that was asked, please feel free to comment in the comment section below, and we'll be coming up with more videos in the future. Thank you.